Remember the passage that we worked on in our Tessitura Beethoven Workout, the one based on Beethoven's Fourth Piano Concerto? Well, today I'm going to tell you an incredible story, a story that will change how you hear that passage forever. Because the story behind Beethoven's Fourth Piano Concerto isn't just interesting, it's wild. And it happened during one of the coldest, longest, most overloaded concerts in history. It was December 22nd, 1808, the night Beethoven gave Vienna way too much music all at once. A day so cold, so chaotic, and so poorly rehearsed that it probably shouldn't have happened at all. But of course, this is Beethoven. And if he wants to unleash 4 straight hours of brand new masterpieces in a theater with no heating, he's going to do it. You know, classic Beethoven behavior. Here, have 4 hours of masterpieces, no breaks, no heat. You're welcome. The audience walks in already freezing, the orchestra walks in already angry, and Beethoven walks in thinking, yes, this is gonna go just beautifully. What followed was one of the strangest concerts in music history. A marathon program, an exhausted orchestra, a collapsing choral fantasy, and in the middle of it all, a piano concerto so gentle, so intimate, and so shockingly new that it felt like it had wandered into the wrong event. If I had to choose just one piano concerto to play with an orchestra, it would be Beethoven's Fourth. Nothing else even comes close. But Beethoven doesn't do simple. He does everything. New symphonies, add them. Brand new piano concerto, sure. Choral piece that you haven't finished yet, why not? Oh, and include older hits because, you know, variety. By the time he was done, the program looked less like a concert and more like Beethoven trying to remind Vienna, in case y'all forgot, I'm a genius. Part 2, the Rehearsal Disaster. The orchestra, understandably, was not thrilled. They had been handed the world's most complicated pile of music and told, basically, we're rehearsing once, don't mess up. And spoiler alert, they messed up. Everyone messed up. It was a debacle. The rehearsal was so chaotic that Beethoven started yelling at the players loudly, aggressively, you know, the usual Beethoven things. And the musicians yelled back, people stormed out. Even at one point, it looked like the entire orchestra just might quit. Beethoven's student Ferdinand Ries later described the scene like someone reporting a natural disaster.
The orchestra was freezing, the instruments were out of tune, and Beethoven shouted so loudly that half the players stopped playing just to shout back. It was less a rehearsal and more a storm we were all trying to survive.
And yet, the concert wasn't canceled. Somehow, everyone came back, probably because they needed the paycheck or because they secretly wanted to see what kind of madness Beethoven was about to unleash. Either way, the show went on. Part 3, the concert. Remember, before Beethoven even touched the piano, the audience had already survived an entire concert's worth of music. And not light music either. Beethoven opened the night with the Pastoral Symphony. Yes, the whole thing, a solid 40 minutes right out the gate. Peaceful countryside scenes, bird calls, and yes, thunderstorms. All performed in a hall so cold that the audience probably felt closer to a real storm than Beethoven intended. Then, just as everyone is settling into, okay, that was nice, we're probably done with part 1, Beethoven turns the page and says,
next, a dramatic concert aria.
So now the soprano walks out and delivers A Perfido, a fiery, emotionally intense 12-minute monologue about betrayal and heartbreak. Which, again, the audience may have personally related to at this point. And because Beethoven loves contrast, he follows that with a slice of sacred choral music, the Gloria from his Mass in C. full choir, soloist, and orchestra in a hall with the acoustics of a frozen barn. By now, the audience's emotional journey has gone from pastoral calm to operatic rage to liturgical devotion. People are freezing, exhausted, slightly angry, and probably wondering if Beethoven is trying to stage test the human nervous system. Part 4, the concerto. And then Beethoven walks to the piano. Remember, this is the last time he will ever perform a concerto in public. His hearing is fading fast. He can barely hear the orchestra behind him, but he sits down anyway because he's Beethoven and subtle hints like, "Your ears aren't working," don't apply to him. The orchestra gets ready to blast the usual big Beethoven opening, but instead the piano just starts. Softly, calmly, alone. In 1808, this was shocking. Concertos never began with the piano. The piano was supposed to wait politely for the orchestra to make its grand entrance. Beethoven said, "Nope, not today." It was intimate, it was daring, it was completely wrong by the rules, and yet completely right for that moment. In that freezing, chaotic hall, the audience suddenly leaned forward. For a few seconds, everything was still. No drafts, no coughing, no complaining. Just Beethoven speaking directly to the room through his piano. It felt like a private confession inside a very public disaster. And that's how the Fourth Concerto made its entrance. Quiet, unexpected, and decades ahead of its time. After that quiet, impossible opening, the piano whispering first, the orchestra answering like it can't believe what just happened, the first movement settles into this beautiful, wandering world. It's not heroic Beethoven, it's not angry Beethoven, it's something gentler, almost private, and one of the most beautiful B themes ever written. And then comes the cadenza. In Beethoven's time, nobody wrote these things out. The soloist was supposed to improvise, to show off, to dazzle, to maybe terrify the orchestra just a little. Cadenzas were wild, spontaneous, and dangerous. But not here. By 1808, Beethoven's hearing was fading, and he wasn't going to leave this moment to chance. So he did the unthinkable. He wrote out the entire cadenza himself, every burst of fire, every whisper, every impossible leap. And then we get to the second movement. If the first movement was a gentle conversation, this one starts like a full-on confrontation. The strings enter first, harsh, cold, and all in unison, and almost defiant of the piano. It's tense, it's severe, it's basically a musical death stare. And the piano, you'd expect it to fight back, big chords, big attitude. But no, it answers with the softest, calmest line imaginable. This is where people started calling it Orpheus Taming the Furies. And honestly, even if that wasn't Beethoven's intention, it fits perfectly. The strings are the Furies. Furious, unyielding, not taking any requests. Piano is Orpheus, gentle, patient, refusing to match the anger. The Furies rise. Orpheus replies. They shout. He whispers. And slowly, painfully slowly, the strings begin to soften. The fury drains out. The unison cracks open. They stop sounding like mythological monsters and start sounding almost human. By the end, it's like the piano has talked them down from the ledge. The whole thing melts into this tiny, fragile moment of peace. Like everyone is quietly agreeing not to mention what just happened. It's short, it's strange, and it's honestly one of Beethoven's best everybody calm down moments in the entire concerto. And then, after all that quiet tension, all that mythical therapy between Orpheus and the Furies, Beethoven does the most Beethoven thing possible. He kicks the door open. The third movement doesn't just enter, it bursts in. It's fast, it's playful, it's athletic. The piano answers with brilliant runs, crisp articulations, and a kind of joyful swagger that feels completely different from everything we've heard so far. It's Beethoven in full sunlight, confident, witty, a little mischievous, as if he's leaning over the keyboard saying, "Did you survive the second movement? Good, now try to keep up." And that's how the concerto ends. Not quietly, not politely, but with Beethoven shouting from the mountaintop. And after hearing what really happened that night, the cold hall, the impossible program, the furious rehearsals, and Beethoven fighting just to be heard at his own premiere, this concerto hits differently. It survived that night. It survived Beethoven's deafness. It survived history trying to bury it under bigger, louder pieces. Beethoven's Fourth Piano Concerto is one of those rare works that we should all listen to because it tells a story far bigger than the music itself. Because in the end, the greatest pieces don't just reflect their time, they define it.